Have you ever been underestimated by your own family? Imagine spending years building something incredible while they mock your efforts, only to watch their faces when they realize you're actually their boss. That's exactly what happened to me. I'm Emily Chen, 32 years old, and this is the story of how my brother's constant mockery of my failed business backfired in the most spectacular way possible. Growing up, my brother Marcus was always the golden child. 3 years older than me, he followed our father's footsteps into corporate finance, climbing the ladder at prestigious firms while I chose a different path. From childhood, the contrast between us was stark. He was all pressed suits and perfect grades, while I was the dreamer who spent weekends at startup meetups and coding workshops. "Emily, when are you going to get a real job?" became my mother's favorite question at family gatherings. My father would just shake his head disapprovingly, while Marcus would smirk from behind his expensive coffee cup. I started my tech company, Innovate Tech Solutions, right after college, while Marcus was celebrating his promotion to junior executive at Stewart Brooks Financial. I was working out of my tiny apartment, living on ramen noodles and determination. My initial focus was on developing AI-driven software for small businesses, not exactly glamorous, but I saw potential where others saw nothing. "Still playing entrepreneur?" Marcus would ask at every family dinner. "You know, there's an entry-level position at my firm if you want to actually make something of yourself." I'd smile and change the subject. What they didn't know was that while they were pitying my struggling business, I was quietly revolutionizing business automation software. My company's first product, AutoFlow, was gaining traction in the startup community. We weren't making headlines, but we were making progress. Then came the weekly family dinner that changed everything. It was a tradition our parents insisted on maintaining, even though it usually devolved into a showcase of Marcus's achievements and a dissection of my perceived failures. That particular Sunday, Marcus was especially smug. He'd just been promoted to senior vice president at Stewart Brooks, and everyone was celebrating his success. To Marcus, our father raised his glass, following in my footsteps and making us proud. Marcus soaked in the praise, then turned to me with that familiar condescending smile. "So, little sister, still running your little computer business?" I took a sip of wine, already knowing where this was going. "You know," he continued, "it's not too late to join the real business world. Stewart Brooks is expanding, and with my recommendation." "I'm doing fine, Marcus," I interrupted, but he wasn't listening. "Still playing entrepreneur?" He laughed, loud enough to make our mother wince. "Come on, Emily, it's been what, 5 years? Time to grow up and join the adults." That's when the doorbell rang. Our mother looked confused. We never had unexpected guests at family dinner. She went to answer the door, and I heard murmured conversation before she returned to the dining room, followed by a tall, distinguished-looking man in an impeccable suit. Marcus's face lit up with recognition. "Mr. Harrison, what an unexpected pleasure." He stood quickly, nearly knocking over his wine glass. "Everyone, this is James Harrison, the new CEO of Stewart Brooks." Mr. Harrison smiled politely at Marcus, then his eyes found me. His entire demeanor changed as he bowed slightly. "Ma'am, your acquisition papers are ready for final review," he said formally. "I apologize for interrupting your family dinner, but given the magnitude of the deal..." My brother choked on his drink. The silence that followed was deafening. Marcus looked between me and his CEO, his face growing increasingly pale. Our parents sat frozen, forks halfway to their mouths. You see, what my family didn't know was that Innovate Tech had grown beyond their wildest imaginations. While they were dismissing my little computer business, I had built it into a tech powerhouse. Our AI solutions were now handling data processing for some of the biggest companies in the world. And yes, we were in the process of acquiring Stewart Brooks Financial. I don't understand," Marcus stammered, his voice barely a whisper. Mr. Harrison looked confused. "Ms. Chen's company, Innovate Tech Solutions, is completing the acquisition of Stewart Brooks. Surely you were aware." He trailed off, noting the shocked expressions around the table. I stood up, smoothing my casual dinner outfit. "Perhaps we should discuss this in private, Mr. Harrison." "Of course, ma'am. The board is quite excited about the direction you've proposed for the company." Marcus collapsed back into his chair, his face ashen. Our father's mouth opened and closed without producing sound, while our mother gripped the edge of the table so hard her knuckles turned white. "Emily," Marcus finally managed, "what's going on?" I smiled, the same kind of smile he'd given me countless times when mocking my choices. "Oh, just playing entrepreneur, big brother." The story of how I reached this point is one of determination, strategic thinking, and yes, a bit of sweet revenge, but let me take you back to where it really began. 5 years earlier, while Marcus was climbing the corporate ladder, I was noticing a crucial gap in the market. Big financial institutions were struggling to adapt to the digital age, stuck with outdated systems that couldn't keep up with modern banking needs. While they were patching old software, I was building something revolutionary. AutoFlow, my company's first product, was just the beginning. What started as a simple business automation tool evolved into an AI-powered financial analysis system that could process and analyze data faster and more accurately than any existing solution. We called it FinAI. The early days were tough. I worked 18-hour days, often sleeping on the office couch. My small team of developers shared my vision, and more importantly, my determination to succeed. We lived on coffee and takeout, debugging code late into the night while Marcus was attending luxury corporate retreats. "Your brother just got another promotion," my mother would tell me during our weekly calls. "He's got a corner office now. Are you eating properly? That apartment of yours is so small." What she didn't know was that I had already moved out of that small apartment, not to a bigger one, but into my office. Every penny we made went back into the company. While Marcus was buying his first luxury car, I was reinvesting in better servers and hiring top talent. The first major breakthrough came when a mid-sized bank adopted FinAI for their data processing. Within months, their efficiency increased by 300%. Word spread quickly in the financial sector. Suddenly, we weren't just another tech startup, we were the company that was revolutionizing banking software. But I kept our success quiet. No flashy press releases, no social media announcements. We operated in stealth mode, letting our results speak for themselves. While Marcus bragged about his promotions at family dinners, I listened and observed, learning about the inefficiencies at Stewart Brooks through his boasting. "You should see our new system," he'd say proudly, "cost the company millions to implement." I'd nod politely, knowing that their expensive new system was already obsolete compared to what we were developing. The acquisition plan wasn't initially part of my strategy, but as Innovate Tech grew, we started getting attention from major players in the finance industry. When I learned that Stewart Brooks was struggling to compete in the digital age, I saw an opportunity. It took months of careful planning. While Marcus was celebrating his promotion to senior vice president, I was in confidential meetings with Stewart Brooks' board of directors. They were impressed by FinAI's capabilities and concerned about their own company's future in an increasingly digital market. The irony of the situation wasn't lost on me. Every time Marcus belittled my little computer business, I was one step closer to acquiring his company. Back at that family dinner, after Mr. Harrison's unexpected appearance, the dynamics shifted dramatically. Marcus sat in shocked silence as I reviewed the acquisition papers with his CEO. "These terms look acceptable," I said, scanning the documents. "We'll proceed with the board meeting tomorrow as planned." "Emily," our father finally found his voice, "how is this possible?" I looked up from the papers. "Remember when you both told me I was wasting my time with technology? While you were focused on traditional finance, the world was changing. Innovate Tech currently provides AI solutions to 8 of the top 10 banks in the country. Stewart Brooks is actually a bit behind the curve." Marcus flinched at that last part. But you never said anything," our mother whispered. "Would you have listened?" I asked quietly. "Every time I tried to talk about my work, you changed the subject to Marcus's latest promotion." Mr. Harrison cleared his throat politely. "If I may, Mrs. Chen, your daughter's company is currently valued at just over $4 billion. She's been quite modest about her achievements." The sound of my father's fork clattering onto his plate echoed in the sudden silence. "$4 billion? Marcus wheezed. "Give or take." I shrugged. The market's been quite favorable to tech stocks lately. The next few weeks were interesting, to say the least. The acquisition made headlines in the financial press. Tech innovator acquires traditional banking giant. Marcus's colleagues quickly learned that his little sister was their new boss, and the office dynamics shifted dramatically. I kept Marcus in his position. I'm not vindictive by nature, but I did insist that he report directly to me for the digital transformation project. Our first meeting was memorable. He sat across from me in the conference room, tugging uncomfortably at his collar. The same brother who had mockingly offered me an entry-level position was now presenting his department's quarterly results to me. "As you can see," he stammered, clicking through his PowerPoint, "our traditional methods have been quite effective." "Traditional methods aren't enough anymore," I interrupted. "That's why Stewart Brooks is now part of Innovate Tech. We'll be implementing FinAI across all departments starting next month. But our clients prefer the personal touch, he protested weakly. Our AI enhances the personal touch, it doesn't replace it, I explained. Something you might have known if you'd ever actually asked about my little computer business. That hit home. Marcus slumped in his chair, the fight going out of him. I really messed up, didn't I? In more ways than one, I agreed, but now you have a chance to learn and adapt. The question is, are you willing to? The transformation wasn't just professional, it was personal too. Our family dynamics underwent a seismic shift. Sunday dinners became very different affairs. Emily, tell us more about this AI technology, our father would now ask eagerly, while our mother beamed proudly. Marcus, to his credit, started making an effort to understand the technology side of the business. He even enrolled in some coding courses. I should have paid attention when you were trying to tell me about this years ago, he admitted one day. The acquisition process wasn't without its challenges. Merging a traditional financial institution with a tech company meant dealing with different corporate cultures, resistant employees, and technical integration issues, but these were exactly the kind of challenges I'd built my career on solving. We implemented changes gradually, using FinAI to streamline operations while maintaining the human elements that made Stewart Brooks successful. The results spoke for themselves. Within 6 months, efficiency was up 400%, and client satisfaction had never been higher. 1 year after the acquisition, I called a family meeting, not a dinner, but a proper meeting in my office. Marcus arrived first, looking much different from the arrogant executive he'd been. Success had humbled him, and learning had renewed him. Our parents arrived next, finally seeing my workplace for the first time. Their eyes widened as they took in the sleek headquarters of Innovate Tech, now one of the most valuable tech companies in the country. I wanted to show you something, I said, leading them to a wall of photographs. It displayed the history of Innovate Tech, from our first tiny office to our current success. Every step of the way, even when you thought I was failing, I was building something meaningful. My mother wiped away tears. We should have believed in you. I believe in her now, Marcus said quietly. She's taught me more about business in the past year than I learned in my entire career. My father, ever the pragmatist, finally asked the question that had probably been bothering him for months. Why didn't you tell us sooner about your success? I considered the question carefully before answering, because I needed to do this on my own terms, not to prove you wrong, but to prove myself right. Success isn't always about corner offices and fancy titles. Sometimes it's about seeing a problem and having the courage to solve it, even when no one else believes in your solution. The meeting ended with something unexpected, an apology from Marcus, not just a simple "I'm sorry," but a genuine acknowledgement of his past behavior. I was threatened by your success, he admitted. Every time you talked about your business, I dismissed it because I was afraid you might actually succeed where I was just following a predetermined path. You weren't just playing entrepreneur, you were revolutionizing an entire industry while I was just climbing a corporate ladder. That admission marked a new chapter in our relationship. Marcus became one of my strongest advocates within Stewart Brooks, helping bridge the gap between the old and new ways of doing business. His experience with traditional finance combined with his newly acquired tech knowledge made him invaluable during the transition. Our parents, too, underwent their own transformation. My mother stopped asking when I would get a real job and started asking about AI technology instead. My father, who had once dismissed my business plans, now proudly tells anyone who will listen about his daughter's tech company. The story made its way through the business world. Of course, sister acquires brother's company made for interesting headlines, but the real story wasn't about sibling rivalry or revenge. It was about the transformation of an industry, about seeing possibilities where others saw only tradition, and about the courage to pursue your vision even when those closest to you don't understand it. 2 years after the acquisition, at another family dinner, we still maintained the tradition. Marcus raised his glass for a toast, but this time, it was different. To my little sister, he said, his voice thick with emotion, who taught me that success doesn't always wear a suit and tie, and that sometimes the best business lessons come from those we underestimate the most. I looked around the table, at my proud parents, my humbled brother, and the empire we'd built together, and realized that success tastes sweetest when shared with those who once doubted you. The company continues to grow, innovating and expanding into new areas. Marcus now heads our traditional banking integration division, combining his experience with our new technologies. Our parents have become unexpected tech enthusiasts, always eager to learn about our latest developments. As for me, I'm still the same person who started coding in a tiny apartment, just with a slightly larger office and a lot more responsibility. The lessons I learned along the way, about persistence, about believing in yourself when others don't, about the importance of disrupting traditional thinking, these are now part of Innovate Tech's core values. And whenever I interview new employees, I always ask them one question: what would you do if no one believed in your ideas? Because sometimes, the most powerful motivator is having something to prove, not to others, but to yourself. The next time someone tells you you're just playing at your dreams, remember my story. Sometimes, those who mock your journey end up working for you. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't revenge at all, it's massive, undeniable success. Just ask my brother. He's in a meeting right now, presenting his latest report to me.